Okay, so let's do this. We usually cover sovereign citizen videos, which of course is a lot of fun, but there's a lot of sovereign citizen stuff that doesn't come in video form. Sovereign citizens fill out a lot of nonsense documents. Sovereign citizens file a bunch of false paperwork with the courts. I thought we'd take a look at some of this paperwork and different things that they put out, and just see what they have to say. It's pretty interesting stuff, so let's see. The form sovereign citizen tried to give police when detained. Here's what it says. In sovereign citizen videos, we will often see sovereign citizens handing things to the police. Like, look at this thing. So this is an example of some of the stuff they might hand. Notice to all public officials. The bearer of this card hereby lawfully notifies you that you are commercially liable for any violation of his or her rights, and that the bearer, 1, reserves all religious, constitutional, civil, human, and sovereign rights, 2, will not consent to any search of their person or property, 3, will not answer any questions without a public servant questionnaire pursuant to the Privacy Act 1974, U.S.C. Section 88, Statute 1896, 1974. 4, will hold liable under full commercial liability for damages through civil suit any public servant who deprives them of, knowingly allows them to be deprived of, conspires to deprive them of, is negligent through deliberate indifference to, or discriminates against these reserved unalienable rights pursuant to Title 42, blah, it cites a thing. 5, will exercise the spiritual tenets of their personal creed under protection from the First Amendment and the Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 93. Public officials who violate their oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution may be liable for civil suit, criminal charges, and or class action suits. Fee schedule. This is the good part. This stuff is obviously just like claiming that they reserve all rights. Now, for the record, your rights in regard to this stuff are automatic. You don't need to say to the police, I reserve, rights to constitutional, civil, human, sovereign rights. The rights that you have are your rights. That's why they're your rights, because they're codified under law. So you don't need to say that stuff. A lot of this stuff is also just kind of, like, not something you can tell a cop, like saying, will not consent to any search of this person or property. Now, that applies if it is a situation where they don't have probable cause, right? If they don't have probable cause, the police can still ask you, hey, can I search your trunk or whatever? And assuming they don't have probable cause, you do have the right to say, no, I don't consent to a search, and that's fine. But how this often gets applied by sovereign citizens is they believe that, like, asking for a driver's license or insurance when you're pulled over in a routine traffic stop, they'll consider that a search or an unlawful seizure in some way, or an unlawful search, whatever. When it's not, that's something that you're required to give them in traffic stops. I'm not sure about this public servant questionnaire thing, so I'm not really sure. Hold liable, full commercial liability for damages. This basically means that I'm going to sue you personally if you deprive me of any of the aforementioned rights. Spiritual tenets of the personal creed under protections of the First Amendment and Religious Freedom Registration Act. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. Here's the fee schedule, though. This is pretty funny. Fee schedule: 20 ounces of 0.99 gold or its equivalent per violation of any of my unalienable rights, under any and all circumstances, including, in these rights hereby claimed are my right to make use of roads, buses, trains, and air stations, the right to contract, engage in trade, and habitation peacefully. So they're saying, if I perceive you to be breaking any of these, then you owe me 20 ounces of gold. What's the price of an ounce of gold right now? Hold on. Ounce of gold price. Okay, right now, gold is $18.33. So, if you break any of the things, then you owe them $36,000 in gold. Specifically, it has to be gold. Or the equivalent. It does say or the equivalent. So, $36,000. Just so you know, you can't just tell people that. You can't just say, you owe me $36,000 if you do things I don't like. Now, if your rights are legitimately somehow trodden upon by a civil servant, you could certainly sue the government that they are working for, and the courts would determine if you are entitled to some sort of damages. But you can't just assert it. You can't just assert, if you do this, you owe me 20 gold bars or whatever. Public servant questionnaire. Attention, any government agency, department, or agent requesting information from this private man or woman, please fill out the following regarding your demand. So this is like, if you're asking me, you know, for any information, presumably driver's license, name, etc., public servant's full legal name, resident address, name of agency, name of supervisors in office. This is basically a thing so, you know, they can file a lawsuit against you or whatever. This is a sovereign citizen's house. On their door, they have many no trespassing signs, which is fine. You can have no trespassing signs on your house, but a lot of this is sovereign citizen nonsense, presumably. And then, interestingly, in large letters, they wrote on one of these... Why can't I get my mouse to work? Hold on. I do not consent! Land use fee, $5,000 per person per day, or any part thereof. He's basically saying if you trespass on my property, $5,000 per person. Here's a piece of mail that a sovereign citizen sent. Sovereign citizens... Oh boy, how do I explain this one? I've explained this one briefly before. Okay, so sovereign citizens, this one specifically apparently doesn't want to buy a stamp. So instead of buying a stamp that... What's a stamp cost these days? Stamp price. Okay, a stamp costs 55 cents. Instead of paying 55 cents for a stamp, they've done the thing that sovereign citizens sometimes believe, and that is they have put a thumbprint in red ink or blood. It's either for a lot of these people. And then they will put, charge me at this account. Sovereign citizens believe, at least many of them believe, that the government has a secret bank account for you with $2 million in it, and that if you put this code, whatever your personal code happens to be, that you can get away with, instead of buying stamps, you can just have them charge this account by putting this down. Or if you get traffic tickets, you can just put this number down and they'll take the money out of the account. All of this, of course, is fake, and this is why a lot of sovereign citizens end up getting bench warrants for unpaid parking tickets or unpaid fines, etc., because they believe that they can just get the money taken out of here, and of course they can't. This is going to get returned to sendered, if they even ever return address on here, which it doesn't look like they do, so it's just going to get trashed. Marketing, postage paid, treat as prepaid, mail tampering in accordance, you know. Oh no, there is a return address on it, looks like. It's just crossed out. So it'll get returned to sendered. And I don't know, maybe they'll be frustrated and they'll probably go to the post office and be mad. Oh, it's one of these people, but they're doing the possession of property thing. We could maybe watch that later. Here's another legal document from a sovereign citizen. Claims of a person as a man, objection to order in case number. Due to lack of jurisdiction, sovereign citizens will often claim lack of jurisdiction as their defense for whatever case they happen to be involved in. They believe that they can claim, again, sovereignty against the government and that the law doesn't apply to them, and therefore the court lacks jurisdiction. The jurisdiction is basically the court's authority to preside over the case. So like in my city, if I committed a crime in this city, or I had a traffic violation or whatever, the court of the jurisdiction, the area in which I physically am residing, not necessarily residing, but where I am when the crime takes place, has jurisdiction over that crime. That's basically what it means. And it says, I, blank of the blank family, come forth as a living man on the land with all power and authority which is written by my hand. Do not twist, construe my words. I speak and write English, parlance, and decree. Declare and demand for this matter to be discharged with prejudice. Jurisdiction, I am unbound, both by personal and subject matter. I do not consent to being surety for these actions. Surety. Am I stupid? Do I not know this word? Surety. Hold on. A person who takes responsibility for another's performance of an undertaking, for example, their appearance in court, or of the payment of debt. Gotcha. Surety is how it's pronounced. Thank you. I do not consent to being surety for these actions. So basically saying I'm not, I'm not responsible for this. I'm not going to take, responsibility for these, and I'm not going to pay any fines. I order for the court to rescind all signatures due to fraudulence from the beginning and make all contracts null and void. I order the judge to honor their oath and remind you that the statutes and codes are color of law and corporate policy and not mine, and you have no jurisdiction over a man. I am not a U.S. citizen. The United States is a corporation, and I, as a man, can never be a corporation. I order for this matter to be discharged with prejudice. And then, of course, signatures, respectfully, in my own right, blank, man aggrieved of all rights, yada, 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 under perjury, and then they do the thumbprint and signature, as they often do. It's interesting because this one isn't even in, like, a proper filing format. I've never seen a court document that looks like this. Again, let me read. I'm not a lawyer or anything, but I read a lot of this stuff for, like, entertainment value, and I do so on stream. This is not the proper formatting for any court I've ever seen. This is not how your filings with the court should look. Someone got a reply back from their ridiculous, motion to the court or whatever it happens to be. The declaration of revocation of power of attorney you recently sent to the Worcester Registry of Deeds cannot be recorded because the theories presented in it are not recognized by Massachusetts law. Therefore, we have returned the original document to you with this letter. Please be advised that if you disagree with this determination, you may petition a judge of proper jurisdiction to issue an order directing me to record the document. So they sent whatever this document was to the Register of Deeds. I'm not sure exactly what it was. If I had to guess, a lot of sovereign citizens will try and file paperwork to relieve them of their mortgage agreement. They'll basically say, I'm a sovereign citizen and I live in this house, and I'm, of course, making this brief. I'm paraphrasing. But they'll say, like, I live in this house, the bank, even though I owe them tens of thousands of dollars or whatever, I'm not gonna, this mortgage is unlawful, so give me the deed to the house, even though I haven't paid my mortgage. That's what I'm guessing is happening here. And the Register of Deeds is like, no, that's not legal. You can't do that. Which is interesting that they actually got a response. I've seen multiple times where they're just not responded to at all. So, and sometimes when they're not responded to at all, what will happen is they will assume it went through, even though, of course, it doesn't, because there's no legal force behind what they're saying whatsoever. And they will end up not paying their mortgage and getting evicted. It's very sad. They basically get scammed into, not paying their mortgage payment. And it's not good. This is just someone who actually got charged with something. Any opinions are welcome on this. I was traveling with my private tags and got arrested, and this is what they are trying to charge me with. Private tags. Sovereign citizens believe they don't need registration tags on their cars. They don't believe they need license plates or registrations or insurance. So presumably this person was driving in a car and didn't have proper registration, and they were pulled over and charged. So they were charged with Class A misdemeanor penalties, disobeying an officer, resisting arrest, unregistered vehicles, prohibition, RE driver's license. They were driving without a license, driving without giving proof. So they were also not giving other documentation and stuff. Penalties for this include imprisonment for any period, whether imposed, suspended, or deferred, a fine higher than $1,200 for any single offense, probation, and home confinement for any period. So I'm sure they're going to make a fool of themselves in court with some sovereign citizen nonsense. Oh, here's a good one. They'll also sometimes make fake IDs for themselves. Fake ID is maybe a harsh word, because they're not necessarily trying to make it look like a state-issued driver's license or anything. It's supposed to be its own thing. They make up, non-official driver's licenses or just identification cards like this. That say things like divine authority, universal ID card, name, a man, began life on or about, and it doesn't even give an exact birth date, it just says May 1987. First breath location, somewhere Massachusetts. I assume they just didn't want the location where they were born on the thing. a divine authority, blah, 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 its address, you know, and then a photo. Not a corporate entity dealing in commerce, requiring a license of any kind, not affiliated with any government agency or authority, divinely accredited. I like that it still has an expiration date, valid through 5/25, even though there's no one who's gonna accept this anyway. So why would it? I'll tell you why there's an expiration date. Because companies scam sovereign citizens and sell this crap to them. So they want them to look at the card and go, oh, it expires, I better go buy another one. It's for return customers from these people. Like, this guy didn't make this himself. He bought it from a website. There are multiple websites where you can go buy this stuff. I've looked at them before. Here's a Facebook post, looks like, from one of these people. Went to the post office and the lady would not let me mail anything without a zip code. She simply refused to take it. Yeah, you need a zip code for postage. That's how postage in the United States works. Tried to put the zip on herself and I told her that was a federal offense. It's not. So she just simply handed everything back to me and said, if I drop them, they will be returned, but without a zip in the return address part, they may not make it back to me. I showed her the code, told her I talked to a postal clerk, and was told it just takes them longer to get the mail delivered to you, like 2 or 3 days more versus regular zip mail. So are we to file on them or what? I put it in brackets, but still, if they have the alleged delivery zip, why do they need one for me? You could even use the 4-digit code by the city, and they should have plenty for a delivery. Help needed to fix this. Tired of dealing with this lady. I don't know why they're so against. Again, I think they think zip codes in this case are like submitting to federal authority, because of course zip codes are like a federal thing. But, I don't know. So today I served the county tax administrator and city law director a notice of liability, settlement offer, invoice if they persist, and my POA over the straw man and DOS. I haven't been properly served for the appearance in their kangaroo court, aka the court, but I'm going to make my special appearance anyways. Oh, this is interesting too. I learned this just the other day. Sovereign citizens will sometimes believe that you don't make an appearance in court. If you make an appearance in court, then you're under their jurisdiction. But if you make a special appearance in court, then that's fine and you retain your sovereignty. Doesn't mean anything. The city law director refused to speak to me and wouldn't sign the document saying he received my paperwork. If I get steamrolled in administrative court, what should I do? A, sue the dickens off the prosecutor. B, go for a jury trial. C, contact the bonding agency. Or D, give me your advice, please, LOL. My advice would be follow the law and the rules of the court. I myself doing live videos to educate people, but it seems to be people don't care, too busy watching TV behind their doors like sheep, because he or she listens to paid liars committing suicide, genocide, being committed against the people, walking about with masks, following effing rules, not law, deprivation, and poverty people, losing businesses, jobs, being falsely arrested for victimless crimes, breaking stupid rules. If it's got the point, people are going to sit back and take the BS because that's what it is, and people don't care. Sons and daughters being abused and all the legal societies involved. There's no periods in this. This is the longest sentence in history. But people don't care, so if people don't care, why should I waste my time trying to educate people, awaken them up, and try to bring them together? The lands of Scotland is full of cowards that sit back and let this trespass of harm happen against all people. The reason the people don't care, any have a nice day wearing masks, taking COVID vaccinations, following fake laws that are only rules anyway. I'm away makes me sick of people. Whoo! That one's rough. That one was hard to read. Oh. I'm guessing that was a Scottish sovereign citizen, based on the fact that they were talking about Scotland. Sovereign citizen went to court. I had the bank by the balls today in court. Kinda doubt it. The freaking judge dismissed the case after stating that I could not show proof of damage. I cited 3 misdemeanor violations and 3 felony violations. Alright, claiming that they made violations is one thing, but you can't just have conclusory claims in court. You need to demonstrate those claims. Like, I can go into, court and be like, I claim that you have broken these laws. That's conclusory. You need to be able to, like, demonstrate those assertions. You don't just say it, you demonstrate it. The judge asked for proof of damages, and all I could cite was my credit report and my stress and anxiety. That's not how that works. The judge asked for bills and money spent due to the claim. I did not have any of that. He did tell me to seek my remedy in a criminal court for those violations input. And then they say I'm getting close to winning against these pigs. I'm sure you are. When discharging debt, I have found that there will almost always be silence on the side of the creditor. It's almost like it doesn't work and they're ignoring your nonsense. They ignore the magical paperwork all the patriots are sending into them. Why? Because very few people know how to enforce their paperwork. It must have teeth and enforceable default provisions against a live person, not some bank or credit card company. How to get out of Satan's commerce? The answer is believed to be involved exclusive equity, spiritual emergency, bill in equity delivered in chancellery with other tools along the way, and a huge change in the perception of who we are in our Creator's world and what the Creator's will is. The marathon continues. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't entirely follow that one. Pro tip to our adult children, if ever arrested, do not give any identifying information. I have no name. I'm not a citizen of the United States Corporation. They got 72 hours max to release the body, or we will file affidavit of stolen property, habeas corpus, and blow up the jail. Oh, that's, don't say that. Don't say that last line. Oh, here's another one of these cards, these fake IDs. This one's from a different place. American National Passport Travel Card. Tribe. Oh no. This is a Moorish citizen who's claiming he's a member of the Cherokee Nation of Moors. Genus masculine. Oh no! From Michigan. That's a shame. I have an unemployment telephone hearing coming up this Wednesday against my employer, who has appealed my decision to even receiving it after she's the one that told me to apply for it. So now I just gotta plead my case, and if I understand 28 U.S.C. 1654 correctly, it states, in all courts of the United States, the parties may plead and conduct their own cases personally or by counsel by the rules of such courts. Doesn't that mean a corporation can't be represented by an attorney, and that the corporation would need to represent and plead its case itself? No. It's the opposite. Corporations have to be represented by a lawyer. Like a person can represent themselves pro se without a lawyer. A corporation has to have a lawyer to represent them. Because as of now, the HR manager is going to be the one on the phone, but she can't do that, right? I didn't send in an affidavit because I didn't know what to say in it, but I do know that a corporation can't be represented by an attorney. Corporations, that's the opposite. Companies have to be represented by an attorney. So I want to know, in addition to citing that law, if there's anything else I can cite that will help me win. Thank you in advance. Jeez. It seems to me USC of the property is superior to status of user-owner when it comes to subject matter jurisdiction. The sham is to have us focus on correcting our status when what matters is a status of property. For example, there is a commercial use lien claim for every conveyance registered as a motor vehicle and every home registered as a manufactured housing unit. This is why secured party creditor process is a waste of time. We are born secured creditors, but we must declare use of our property as private household consumer goods, not used in regulatable interstate commerce activity. It begins by not registering anything because then the presumption is interstate commerce. Oh, Jesus Christ. What are these? These are just hot. Let's go top in the past month. Maybe we'll get some different ones. Just got stopped by police. No license, registration, insurance, no plates, no problem. Much love and respect for Sergeant Alvarez for listening to the information and upholding my right to travel and letting me leave freely. He even gave me his info so we could have coffee and talk more about this issue and send him material to study. He seemed very interested when I told him to take off his mask. Then he proceeded to ask me about masks, vaccines, etc. That's a real man who's checked his ego and is willing to learn anywhere he can. I totally respect him and our interaction, and we will be talking more. Start having love for truth and humanity and educate these folks. They can be woken up if the power within us. Yeah, that happened. Oh, did you see this? Ghislaine Maxwell said she was a resident of Terra Mar, which is a charity that she has. Which is how that works. Hey friends, I'm going to get requested to appear for a local income tax case here soon. The municipal court is charging my person with a criminal charge. They are lacking an injured man or woman. I also notified the village if they ask me to appear in court, it's $500 per appearance. That was mailed to them and received last year. How should I proceed? They are attempting to summon me, but I'm alive, not dead, so I'd like to reject the summons and ask for an invitation instead, since I'm not dead. Let me know what you think. That's not how that works. Mom signed the application for birth certificate signing over the name. The birth certificate is a certificate of title, just like an auto. No, it's not. Birth certificates are literally what it says in the name. They're certificates of your birth. You hold equitable title to use the name. The state holds legal title. They created the all-caps entity. What's the use of a common law copyright? Never seen or heard of anyone being successful in forcing a copyright on the name. Plus, in my opinion, it's totally unnecessary to compel performance. The marathon continues. I think that's the same person because they posted the marathon continues in both of them. Is this an Australian sovereign citizen? Trespass notice. Notice to all persons and entities, living, corporate, private, or otherwise, including but not limited to police, sheriff, servers, debtors, or agents of Australian Post, courier, delivery agents, government agents, army agents, or any representative of the Crown or state, federal, state, local agents, or representatives of local, state, federal, or Crown agencies. Trespass applies without prior consent or prior invitation. Trespass is a criminal offense. Oh, God. It's always with these people. Stop. Let me see if there's any interesting ones in the top all time, and then we'll move on to some video or something. A lot of these are memes, though. I am a sovereign national. Do I have the right to apply for a diplomatic passport? Someone says no. Then they reply, why? My person is sovereign, my home and land is sovereign, and any time I step off my land, I am sovereign, and any dealings with government, police, or Vic Roads is an official capacity makes me diplomat, conducting official business. And then the person responds, diplomatic passports are for persons representing discrete nation-states. You're not representing anyone but yourself. You're also not sovereign because you live in the Commonwealth of Australia and the state of Victoria and are thus bound by the laws and customs of same until such time as you travel outside the borders of those polities? Polities. If you want to be sovereign and answer to a government, or not answer to a government, go buy an island and live on it, or buy a boat and live out in international waters. We're all a part of society, and the laws, yes, that includes statutes, apply to all of us equally. Good response. Driver refused to show identification, proof of insurance, and registration. Driver stated that he was not willing to provide requested documentation, as I didn't put respect on his name. When asked what was meant by the statement above, driver replied, "Is you finish or is you done?" and attempted to drive off. Oh, this is a thing that they'll do sometimes too. On tips and stuff that they leave for servers, which I'm glad they're leaving a tip, but they'll say like, "This is not a tip, this is a gift. Gifts cannot be taxed." That's not how this works. It's a tip. You can't just call it a gift. That's not how this works. Here's a person with one of those bullshit license plates. Here's another bullshit license plate. There's a ton of these people. I don't know. I just thought it'd be fun to go over some of this stuff. But yeah, that's documentation. It's a bunch of nonsense and, of course, some posts and stuff. Either way, let's move on.